Welcome. I'm Smart Brief editor Jan van Valkenburg, and I'm here with Ray Bauer, who is director of the Public Sector Domain Specialist Group at Verizon. We're discussing how government employees can work remotely in 2020 securely and seamlessly. Thanks for being with us, Ray.
Thank you, Jan. I really appreciate you inviting me.
So government employees don't traditionally work remotely, but that changed in 2020 to meet stay-at-home mandates. Since then, some agencies have backtracked on allowing remote work if it's deemed safe to be in offices. Ray, why do you believe it's important for government employees to still be able to work remotely?
Yeah, thanks for that, Jan. There's a lot of different scenarios that the government agencies face, and one of the big issues has to do with employee retention. The labor markets are tight, especially for technical workers and specialized workers. It's important to give those workers opportunities for hybrid work, where they can work in the office sometimes, work at home sometimes, work in remote locations, providing that kind of flexibility for their lifestyle, and then also, being able to give them the tools necessary to be able to be successful in their jobs when they are working remotely. That's one of the big drivers. The other driver has to do with just flexibility of the agency to be able to work in business continuity situations where, like in COVID, we were forced to have people working from home. And so it's important for an agency to be able to prepare for all those scenarios.
How does working remotely impact efficiencies or productivity?
Well, it depends on the agency, right? It depends on how mature they are in the way that they enable remote work. And so with the right collaboration tools, the right security, the right network access, the efficiency of work can be very good. I think a lot of people feel they are more productive when they have a little more flexibility in terms of their commute, not having to commute as much. It gives them more time to actually work or more time to balance their life. Also, like I said, given the right tools and the right collaboration with their teammates, they can be very successful.
You mentioned early on security, and of course that's a big issue, especially when employees are working with private or even sensitive information. How do you ensure that remote is secure?
Sure, and that's a good question. And different agencies are going to have different programs with different levels of sensitivity of that information, and they can apply different security parameters to those different use cases. I would say there's multiple ways of doing it, right? For instance, with remote work, they're going to need to establish a VPN for remote access that's including multi-factor authentication. A good way to handle it is also initiating a security assessment with a valued partner that would come in and review their access policies, assess their employee devices, make sure they have the right patching processes, et cetera. Also, they can implement a zero trust network access policy so that they trust no person or device on the network, and that they limit access to appropriate applications for those particular employees, and that they encrypt, the data that goes across those application employee communications. Also, having a business continuity plan is important. That's part of what was really forced during COVID. And then another really important thing to do is to educate the workforce, right? So they need to understand some of the things that can cause disruption, like phishing attacks, malware. Make sure that they're using updated and strong passwords. So a lot of education needs to take place as well. And then they can implement DDoS protection so that their network's not flooded by denial of service attacks. And one of the really important things is to leverage a managed services, a trusted partner for managed services that knows how to manage the network and manage their collaboration tools and their advanced communications, as well as their WAN, their LAN, their their wireless LAN at work, and then also their device management. There's some managed device opportunities out there that I think will really help some of these agencies. And in the future, they can look at taking advantage of secure network capabilities that come with 5G, including like network slicing and isolation of sensitive data communications for certain programs. So I know that's a lot, but there's a lot of different things you can apply to the situation depending on how sensitive the data is, or the type of use case where your employees are working in a hybrid environment.
So agencies may do this in stages or all at once, but probably stages. And that brings up the question of budgets.
Sure.
So do you have advice on how agencies might be able to budget for this effectively?
I do. I think it all comes into the planning, right? So what we suggest is that agencies take time to really document where they want to go, like what is the future state they'd like to achieve. And then, working with the trusted partner like Verizon, sit down and assess where they are now. What do they have in place now? And then once you realize what they have in place now and then where they want to be in the future state, you start to map out a technology roadmap that really helps them with transformation, leveraging digital channels, leveraging communication tools. And so once you map that out, you have specific milestones, some that are near term that you can do, midterm and long term. Then you kind of match that to the budget, right? Sometimes there's money that needs to be spent up front, but you can offset that. Like if there's upfront evaluations of professional services engagements that are needed to implement something, that can be offset by the cost reduction you might get in a more efficient system, with managed services. Also in the government, there's different programs for funding, right, that are available out there now, and new ones even coming aboard. So being able to take a look at those funding sources and put those into the plan. A good digital transformation roadmap plan that worked with a managed services partner is really valuable in addressing those budget needs.
So in your experience, what are some of the features that a mature system in the government sector allowing for remote work should be?
Yeah, I think I talked about some of the tools earlier, but really having the right policies and process in place is important for their workers, right? The right education for those teams, and then layered on with the right technology solutions to help secure remote work. But then also having continual kind of review of that, right? Because situations change. And it's important to have a partner that's always doing that for you. If you can leverage the managed services of a trusted partner that does this for a lot of similarly situated customers in the government and also does it for themselves, they're going to have a good understanding of how to continually improve and how to continually look at your particular situation and make sure that you're secure and that your workers are going to be able to be efficient over the long term.
Fantastic. A lot of things to take into consideration. Thank you, Ray. And to those of you watching, thank you for joining us. This concludes our talk with Ray Bauer of Verizon.
Thank you very much.